Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we continue the 8th parak, Daf It, number 79. A lot of shirim to give in the next week or two, with very little time because their Shabbos is due to Rosh Hashanah, so it's very hectic. Hopefully we'll have to give all the shirim. 40 shirim is a lot of shirim to give in a week, but we can do it. I'm going to talk today about payros. We talked about yesterday, Nichsem Elug, the portion that the wife inherits in the marriage. Nichsem Elug. The wife doesn't inherit. She inherits property, or she brings property into the marriage. It's called Nichsem Elug, which is not written in the Kesuba, and the Baal, the husband, is entitled while they're married to the payros, to the actual fruits or whatever. We'll see not just fruits literally from trees, but any benefits, any things which come through this property, anything which is a pre from this property, which is a produce with the Karen, the actual property produces, he's entitled to benefit from that. And if there's no produce coming from that property or that money, then we'll see that it's sold and you buy land or something like that, which will produce added revenue or added produce. The Gemara on the bottom, Ayin Chem Abayis starts 3 lines from the bottom. He is said about about yesterday that a woman, she doesn't always want her husband to be entitled to Nichsem Elog. So Rabbi Shimon said in the Mishnah, we hold like Rabbi Shimon, the husband doesn't know about it, like she got him Yerusha in Medinas Hayam overseas where he doesn't know about it. So technically he's not entitled to Nichsem Elog, to the payros. She had property, but she didn't want her husband to benefit from the marriage, which sounds like a great marriage. Kasvinu lebarta. She wrote a star before the marriage that she's giving her estate to her daughter. Intzava, she got married, she got divorced. I guess she knew she was going to get divorced. Tav Vayin Tedam Aleph. Asa lekamid Rav Nachman. He came in front of Rav Nachman. Kari Rav Nachman l'shtara. Right, the daughter came to Rav Nachman. She wanted to collect whatever land that her mother had given her. Rav Nachman wrote up the shtar. It's not a real shtar. Azar Rav Anan l'kamid Marokva. Rav Anan heard about this incident, went to Marokva. Amar lechazi mar Nachman chakla. Yechi mikra shtari deinshi. How could Nachman, the peasant, Nachman wasn't a rich person, how could he rip up the shtaros of people? Technically, the daughter owns it. Amar le Emily is a gufa da'ov da hechi hava. Tell me exactly what happened. Amar le hachi v'achi hava. Such and such happened. Amar le shtar mavarachas ka'amras. This is a star that was written just to mafriya, to cause her nachasim to flee from her husband. Hachi amar Rabbi Chanilai bar Idi amar Shmuel more harani. I am someone who's accustomed to giving piskei halacha. He said himself, and he was right. He was proven opinion in halacha. He said if a shtar mavrachas, like this case where the shtar was entirely written to be a false shtar just to prove that she didn't own the land, he said I'll rip it up also. So Rav Nachman paskin right. Amalei Rav Nachman Hamamai. What's the reason? Someone, when she wrote the shtar, she didn't really mean to give the property to her daughter, because people want land for themselves, not for other people. Maybe to a daughter, she would wholeheartedly give it. The Gemara answers, even though your daughter is very important to you, your children are very important to you, you come before your children. Meisive, right? Asks the question. Arot says, she wants to let her properties flee from her husband. Her husband shouldn't be entitled to them, at least to the payros. Talk more on Ben Sion. Maybe it's more than the payros. The husband, actually, he's entitled to the Karen also. If she were to die, and inherits her. She writes a star, which is a sham, a false star. Chachamim say no, it doesn't help. If she wants, she can use the shtar to collect. The daughter can collect. Unless it's specifically written in the shtar, I give you these properties from now, on condition that I want to give it to you. Later on, I say I'm giving it to you now. If you never fulfill that condition, the shtar is invalid. Time of the Kasvalei Haki, the reason Rabbanan said he wrote it this way, only that way. Halo Kasvalei Haki, Kanani Lokeach. According to the Rabbanan, who presumably paskin like, it would be a valid shtar, right? It's a valid shtar. He wrote a valid shtar. They had 2 Eidim signing the shtar. How could you invalidate it afterwards? I don't know, zero lakash. Have a kula have miksasa. When it comes to her entire estate she gave to her daughter to somebody else, then she obviously doesn't want to give it. Have miksasa. If she gave part of her estate, we do assume it's a valid shtar, and therefore the owner of the shtar can collect that property. We lo kanino lokeach kanino bal. So if it's really, she wrote kula or a whole estate, which is a shtar mavrachas, which is a false shtar. Now, how could you invalidate a false shtar if there's two eidim on it, right? So it's an umdina. The umdina, we'll talk about it a different time. The umdina is mara leila shtara, right? The circumstantial evidence ruins a shtar, even though a shtar is a raya to collect with. You need a raya to collect money, but there's a reyesa, there's a weakness to the shtar. We'll talk about it at a different time. It ruins the shtar. So if the lokeach, the daughter's not collecting, it can do baal. So the husband should collect it with a false shtar. It belonged to the woman. They got married. So why isn't the husband entitled to it? Amar Abaye, Asam can custom shady doing the baal, but leave the rishon. Since she wrote a shtar, giving it to someone else, so the husband, as much as he thinks he knows he doesn't own this piece of property. He knows it was given to somebody else, or the whole estate was given to somebody else. So he doesn't know about it. So it's like property that fell to her in Medina Sayyam overseas. I'll leave with Rabbi Shimon. We passed like Rabbi Shimon, and the husband is not entitled to the payros. And also, maybe we'll talk about the Yerusha of the actual karka if she dies. The Mishnah says, Nafilu aksafim. Let's say she got inheritance of money, or even if she brought money into the marriage, but she didn't write it as part of Nechsason Barzel. Yilachim and karka v'ochal payros. Now, money generally depreciates, right? Because of inflation, money depreciates. So you always want to do the best for the husband. Right? He should have payros. He should have revenue. He should have appreciation. You always want appreciation. That's what payros is. Payros is not literally fruits. It means that the value of the real estate goes up. Usually land and houses, certain properties, certain objects go up in value. Certain objects go down in value. Money, if you just leave money alone, it'll go down in value because of inflation. Therefore, you don't want to leave it around. The woman has to buy a piece of land, and he gets the appreciation of that land. However, it's worth the actual fruits and appreciation. Let's say she actually literally inherits payros, right? Fruits that are not connected to the ground. That is the same din as ksafim, right? Payros are not going to produce more payros. Payros, an apple generally doesn't go up in value. It goes down in value. It rots. So you have to buy immediately karka with it, and he gets to eat the payros. Payros b'chavarim karka. If she inherits land and the land has fruits that are still attached to the ground, you take two evaluations: how much the field is worth with the payros that are attached to it, and how much it's worth without the payros. So most are karka, the value, the extra value that it has because of the fruits. That is considered money, and that value you have to buy land, and he gets the payros. Since it's still attached to the land, he gets to take it. That's called payros. It's not called something else. It's not called ksafim. It's called payros, right? You have the karka. She gets the karka, and the payros is still mechuber the karka, so it's not independent value. It's a regular din of payros. He gets to eat those payros. The ones that are separated when it falls to her inheritance, or she brings them into a marriage. So then it's her property. She buys karka. He eats the payros. Shimon Omer. Right? A place where for one person it's good for them when they come in, it's bad for them when they go out. For her, right, when something's bad for her, she has a weak position. When she comes into the marriage, she has a strong position in that regard when she leaves the marriage. Right? If they go into the marriage, she brings in land, and the land still has fruits attached to it. So when it goes in, it belongs to him. And when it goes out, it belongs to her. If she inherited or she brought in land with fruits that are detached, already harvested, when she goes in, it belongs to her. Now, of course, you have to sell it for land, and he eats the payros, but we're going to see it's relevant, the actual karen, the actual fruit itself, the money, the karka belongs to her, which is important because if she gets divorced, or if he were to die first and her Yorshim inherit her, so then that principle would belong to her inheritors, to her, as opposed to it wouldn't belong to him. But we see also Shalo, and when he leaves the marriage, they belong to him. The Tlushim belong to him because those are considered payros, and right? They're considered payros. He had to fill the entire marriage. It was harvested, so those are payros. So he gets to keep the payros themselves. Gemara says pshita aro bati, right? They have a machlokes, the husband and wife. They're gonna buy. She brought in money. They want to invest. What should they invest in? Should they invest in land, open land, or should they invest in houses? Two types of real estate. So whereas the ara obviously is a better investment to invest in land. It'll bring you because you can build on land, so it's worth more. Bati vidikli, they have a discussion. You want to invest in houses or palm trees? Bati, houses is a better investment. Dikli ve'ilni, palm trees versus other fruit-bearing trees. Dikli, palm trees are better investment. I guess they last longer. Ilni v'gufti, fruit-bearing trees and vines. Ilni, the fruit-bearing trees last longer and they're a better investment. Abba zardasa, pira de cabra. Let's say you have a tree, right, that's really primarily used for its wood. Pira de cabri, and you have a pond which is filled with fish. Amrila pira, amrila karna. Some say that it's considered pira, and some say that it's considered keren, right? If it's considered keren, right, meaning keren, it's not gonna appreciate in value. A pond of fish won't necessarily appreciate in value. A tree for wood won't appreciate in value, so it's considered keren. So you sell it and you lock him and he gets the payros. Some say that it does have payros, and therefore you can keep it around and it does appreciate in value. Clo de milsa, right? I guess these are fish ponds. Sometimes it could appreciate, sometimes it could depreciate in value. It could depreciate if the water goes bad or the fish die, right? Or they can give birth to more fish, so it could appreciate in value. Similarly with a tree, if it grows stronger, the wood could go up in price. The price for lumber can go up, right? It's a commodity that's traded on the forex market, not the forex market. Not the forex is foreign exchange. The commodities market, the futures market. So lumber, the price of lumber can go up. So therefore, it does appreciate. Claudia Milsa, Gizo Machlif Pira, and Gizo Machlif Karna. The general rule is that if the tree were to be cut down, right, so then it's considered payros. It's considered, right, you can keep the tree around because it's going to appreciate, because even if you cut it down, it'll regrow. And Gizo Machlif Karna, however, if the tree doesn't regenerate, so then it's considered to be keren, and you sell it and you buy land with it, which will generate payros. Where it seems to be saying that wood, lumber generally goes down in value unless the tree would regenerate. Amar Reb Zera, Amar Rishai, Amar Reb Yanai, Amar La, Amar Reb Abba, Amar Rishai, Amar Reb Yanai, Hagone Vlad, top of Ayin Tenamad Beis, Hagone Vlad, Behemos Malug. Right? She has animals. We didn't talk about she could bring animals, and animals are also property, right? And they have children. If they have children, those are considered payros. So Vlad Behemos Malug, Shumshalan Dashlim Kefil. Someone would steal that, right? You steal the animal. Shumshalan Dashlim Kefil. For Geneva, we'll learn a Masechet Bava Kama. When you steal something in private, secretly, you pay kefil. Leisha, you pay the halacha. They say, Rabbi Yanai says, you pay kefil, both the principal and the extra double payment. You pay to the woman. So the Gemara says, come on, who is this opinion like? Lo karabana, lo chananya. It's not like Tutanoim we find. The Sanya, Vlad behemas malug labal. Vlad shivchas malug leisha. The Chum holds, right, a child born to a behema of nichse malug. The woman brought in some animals to the marriage, right? That belongs to the husband. However, if she brought in maidservants, shivchas kananios, so the child that she has belongs to the woman herself. It belongs to the woman, and right, she would probably sell the shivcha, and the baal would be ochel peres. It's the same thing as an animal, right? And the children they have belong to the husband. Afilu tema. So according to both opinions, the payros of the animal, the vlados, the children belong to the husband. So why isn't the kefel, which is also an appreciation through this animal, right? You steal the animal and you pay an extra payment. That's like payros, right? Here, when you steal the vlad of a behema, the behema yourself you steal and you pay kefel, that's considered payros the kefel. However, when you steal the vlad, which itself is payros, so that's pira the pira, payros of payros, the Rabbanan word in Misakin that the husband should get. Bishlam l'chananya, hayin l'chshin l'misa. Chananya says it's the same halacha, right? Both of them, both children of animals and children of shvachos, are considered payros, right? He's not chayish l'misa, so therefore we assume the keren, the mother shivcha, or the mother animal, still remain alive. So the children are considered payros. El Rabbanan, the Rabbanan Svara must be Chaysha Lemisa Afilu Labehemas Malognami. Lo, Vilo Chaysha Lemisa Afilu Lavashivchas Malognami. Right? Ostensibly, the reason the Rabbanan say that by a Shifcha, the Vlad is not considered Peiros is because we're concerned the mother's going to die, and therefore there's no Karen left. Therefore, you have to sell the Vlad. It's considered like Safim. You have to sell it and buy Karka. However, so why aren't we Choshish to buy animals? Animals are more likely to die. Why does he consider the children of animals to be Peiros? It really is Koshish Lamisa, both by a mother and both by a human being, a Shifcha, and both by an animal. Even though the animal might die, the children are still considered Peiros. The Karen is not gone, the principle is not gone, because you still have, even though the full animal, the value of the animal is not there, but its hide is worth something. Amar Rav Hona Bar Chia, Amar Shmuel Locha Chananya Locha Falas Chananya, right? In both cases, we're considered Peiros. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman, Avagav Amar Shmuel Locha Chananya, even though the Locha Shmuel Falas Al Chananya, Moda Chananya, Shim Nisgarsha, and Asen is Damim, it's lost on Neshvach Beis Avia, even Locha Falas Chananya, right? And they're considered the children of the Shifcha, and the animals are considered Peiros. Right, she's allowed. Even though when he leaves the marriage, he's allowed to take the Peiros with him, whatever Peiros were around at the time of the divorce. She could actually has the right to pay him for them and take them. They shvach beisavia. We'll see that Chazal or Misaki, and that she has the right to buy them back because it's prestige for her father's house to have certain things, sentimental value to have certain animals. They grew up in family business or whatever, so those animals have sentimental value. You're allowed to buy them back. Amar Rav Nachman, she brought him a goat that was primarily used for milking. She brought that into the marriage. Or she brought him a sheep that was primarily used for shearing its wool. A chicken that wasn't meant to be shechted to produce eggs, an egg producing chicken. A palm tree that was used to grow dates. It wasn't used for its wood. Allah is, he could eat from these things, eat the baits of the eggs, he could drink the milk. They're considered Peiros until the Karen is gone, until the animal dies, or the tree dries up. I don't know if Nachman Ailale Glima, if she brings in to the marriage a piece of clothing, pira heavy, right? It's considered Peiros, the usage of the clothing. You can use it, you can wear those clothing until it gets worn out, but it's worn out. At least there's a Karen left. The blows. Come on, who is this like? Okay, right? If she, in her ownership, in her portfolio, she had a large mine of salt or sand. Peiros, they do produce Peiros because even if you take the sand or the salt, there will be something left. You can't mine all of it. Pure shall gafris, machbora shall tzrif. However, if she has a mine of sulfur or aluminum. Rameir says that it's Karen, it doesn't leave over anything. The Chachamim say no, it has been a Peiros, and therefore there'll still be a little left, and therefore he gets to enjoy the entire thing. And we don't say Yilach and Karka, you buy land and Huach Peiros. Shimon Omer, welcome Shiafa Kocho. Rav Shimon Hanei Rav Shimon basically says the same thing as Tanakama. What's he saying? What's he adding, Rav Shimon? Amar Rava Mechubar B'Shas Yitzia Yigwenayu. Rav Shimon says, right, that if the fruits are still attached to the ground, B'Shat Yitzia, so according to Reb Shimon in the Mishnah, he says, B'Tiyasa, when she leaves the marriage, it belongs to her. Right? They're not Plushim and Akarka, they're not detached from it. That's not considered Peiros. According to the Rabbanan, another Rabbanan say, even if they're not detached from the ground, they're still considered Peiros because they're still fruits, right? They're still Peiros. They're still attached to the ground. They're still considered Peiros, so the husband will be entitled to them when he leaves the marriage. Mishnah says, Nafla avadim v'shvachos. Either she brings in a avadim or shvachos, or they fall to her as a Yerusha while she's married. Skenim yimakru v'lakav and karka. If they're very old, these avadim and shvachos are going to die soon. You have to sell them v'lakav and karka, v'ochal peros. They're going to die, so you're going to lose the Karen. The principle is to sell them for land, so he's entitled to the peros, so he can appreciate and value. Rishon Omer lo simkor. Rishon says she doesn't have to sell. There are certain sentimental value. And these avadim, right? They know their names, they're familiar with them. It falls to her inheritance of olive trees and vines. The old ones you can sell, you should sell and buy karka. These vines and these olive trees have been in her family for a long time. They have the procedure of father's house. She doesn't have to sell it, even though they might actually die yet, and the care might be gone. The machlokas in the Mishnah, in the Rabbanon and Rabbi Yehuda, is only, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, when these olive trees and these vines fall, the grapevines fall to her in her own field, right? Because even if they die, right, she'll have the field left over. Where the vines, you own olive trees or vines someone else's field, right? Because if they die, these old trees die, the husband's up with nothing. We know the same achlokas. When it comes to avadim and shvachos, there's no field, there's no remnant of a field over there. It's like trees in someone else's field. And still they have a machlokas. Ella itmar haki itmar. If it was stated, what's the correct recitation of halacha? Machlokas is when she inherits trees, olive trees, or grapevines in someone else's field. In her own fields, right? Divrei akolosim kor, even the Rabbanan say she doesn't have to sell meshvach beis avia because it's important to keep the prestige of the father's house, the sentimental value. And even if you'll say, according to the Chamim, it'll be gone, the value, they'll die, the trees will die, still the field will be left over. If that's considered Karen and the husband isn't losing out completely. Hope you enjoyed today's shir. See you in Iyad Ben Sion. We talk more about the two parts of Nechsei Maluk. You thought there was one part, Nechsei Maluk, the payros the Baal owns. Maybe there's a second part that he owns also. We'll investigate that a little more coming up. Iyad Ben Sion next.